Okay, so what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen are the pairs we'll be analyzing today, but make sure you do stay to the end of the video because I do have a bonus pair in store. But yeah, guys, we'll go through my trade for the week first and then progress into the analysis shortly after, like always. So feel free to skip ahead using the timestamps below. But I had one position this week on pound USD, similar to last week. One position on Euro USD, which was a break even. But luckily for me, pound USD hit the TP and actually kept going. Pound USD was very, very bullish. I mean, dollar was very, very weak. So a lot of the dollar pairs were just doing crazy things. Dollar Swiss, Euro USD, and pound USD was one of them. So in this case, trading stop will, really maximize this up move here for pound USD. But again, I use TP. Sometimes they work very, very well. Other times, it does leave some money on the table. But, as long as it makes me profitable, I'm happy for what it is. But as you can see, nice position there on pound USD. This is one of the pairs I had my watch list. If you're not in the Telegram, make sure you get into the Telegram, link in the description below to that. I share my watch list there every week. And this is one of the setups I was looking at. Lovely retest of that structure and a lovely push back into the daily level up here, which we were talking about last week. But again, we'll take a look at pound USD in a bit more detail when we get to it. But first up, like always, we've got Euro USD. So like I said, Euro USD, another crazy move for this one, clearing out multiple highs here and here. So the market is looking very, very bullish. Now, I don't know particularly where this market is headed. I mean, I know it's bullish and there's some areas of resistance higher up, but there's no particular level that jumps out to me. And I'm going through most of the larger time frames, daily, weekly, and monthly. There's no particular level that looks very attractive. I can see multiple areas where we could get to and potentially reverse, but nothing high probability. So I'm kind of just playing with Euro USD and see how far this goes. I mean, my bias is still definitely bullish. I'm still expecting more upside. Market is quite overextended with this bullish leg here, so I would expect retracement. But again, just because I expect retracement doesn't mean I'm going to go short it. It means I'm going to wait for retracement. If it does happen, then possibly look for some long opportunities. My two areas of interest are as follows: this daily high over here, and obviously this one. Both of them have been broken with a lot of momentum. The first one up here hasn't seen a retest, 1.106, 1.107. We had a minor retest here, but this one's nice and fresh. As you can see, we broke through the level with a lot of momentum, haven't come back for a retest. So this is a nice level to look back for some long opportunities. But will we get there next week? I have no idea. Like I said, the market is quite overextended, so I do expect a pullback, but we could just keep flying. Or we might even see a pullback, but just not deep enough to get there either. So pound USD targets will always be back to the prior high in this scenario, because like I said, I don't have a target which I'm working towards. Like with pound USD, my trade this week, I had a target on the daily I was working towards. This one, not so much. So kind of utilizing the psychological levels, 1.12, 1.13, and also the highs that the market creates when it retraces. So if you do retrace from here and come back down, that will naturally be the next target for the trade. Same thing if you come a little bit deeper, back to the same high there as well. But pound USD, there's not a lot of levels to work with, kind of the middle of nowhere a little bit. The best structure I can see that fits my criteria is definitely this level and this level. So personally for me, I'm just waiting for some larger pullbacks into those structures. Monitor price action, look for rejection momentum, and then I'll be looking for some entries to take it back up again. But this is definitely my bias for Euro USD to the upside. Looking for some long opportunities off the back of 1.109 and 1.101 for next week. Okay, so over to dollar yen. Dollar yen has been very, very bearish over the past week or two. I did measure the move from the high to lows at roughly around 700 pips, which is pretty wild. But then again, dollar yen in the past kind of 2 years has been doing some crazy moves, which have been packing a lot of pips. And we've just seen another one happen recently. So dollar yen, my bias is still bullish. If I scale to the higher time frames real quick again, you can see the overall trajectory of the market is still to the upside. If we focus on this structure here, still higher highs and higher lows, anticipating something like this. And if you zoom out, you can see even the bigger structure still to the upside. So as a trend trader, as a person who focuses on market structure, all I'm seeing is higher highs and higher lows. So my bias is overly bullish for the pair. And in fact, we have come into a very, very nice level and a great level where potentially we could be seeing another higher low print and possibly another move to the upside again. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for USD JPY. I was looking to buy the pair. This is a nice area of confidence. I think we maybe came into the 50%. Yeah, just about spiked in the 50%. So it's a good area of confidence, but I did avoid looking to buy this this setup here because it was just way too aggressive for my liking. The market was falling considerably with a lot of momentum, and trying to buy down here, although it's in a nice area of confidence, it's like trying to catch a falling knife. And many times in my trading career early on, I was always trying to buy the low or sell the high and get burnt many times. So I always look for a bit more development, whether the market's going to give me some more rejection down here a few more times, or it's going to break to the upside, start giving me some higher highs and higher lows, and then I'll look to get in on the break and retest some structure and follow the move to the upside. Because if my buys from the higher time frame is correct, then we've got a good chance of coming back to the highs here. So I don't necessarily need to get in all the way down at the lows. Obviously that gives you the best risk reward, but sometimes it gives you low probability setup at the same time. So if you're willing to take that extra risk, then go ahead. Me, not so much. I'm waiting for the higher probability opportunities. If that means I lose maybe 1 or 2 R on the risk rewards, as long as I'm still getting 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4 on average, then I'm a happy guy. So yeah, dollar yen, I'm waiting for a bit more development. Like I said, even multiple rejections of the same area around 138. Or if we start breaking structure to the upside, like I said, some break and retest, and then I'll be looking for my long opportunities there as well. It's a little bit early to say what I'll look to take because, again, we haven't got the development yet. But maybe later in the week, if you guys watch my streams, I'll give you my update and what I'm thinking about the position. But in terms of bias and the location, I'm expecting to see some higher lows form around here for a push back up to 145. So that is the plan next week for dollar yen. Okay, so USD CAD coming into the week, we were looking for sells, looking for the market to come back down into these lows, and we did get that. However, it wasn't a perfect break and retest as I was expecting to. Again, I was looking at this level of support turn resistance, so support. We're looking for price to come back, retest this, and sell off to the downside. We came very close because we were anticipating that this is just a big fake out. You can see impulse to the upside, impulse down. Like I say, a lot of the times when we do impulse in one direction and impulse in the opposite very quickly after, normally it's a fake out. So that's what we're expecting to see after this price action here. Big push above the level, came back straight underneath. We're looking at this being another major lower high in reference to the daily time frame. So we had one over here, second over there, and potentially third over there. So we said we're looking for the retest of this resistance at 1.33, just about missed it. I mean, arguably some people could have said that's a test. Again, the market isn't perfect. And then, yeah, we rolled over and came back into these lows down here, hitting the target. So I'm still very bearish on USD CAD. We have pinched the lows here, so we are seeing some retracement, and CAD was very weak towards the end of Friday there. So very big push to the upside. But again, doesn't really change anything for me. Again, as a person who focuses on technicals and market structure, we're still seeing lower lows and lower highs. We just created some new lows recently, and we just printed a new lower high. So as long as you don't go and break this high next week, I'm still looking at sales for USD CAD into next week as well. So for me, I'm just looking at areas to short dollar CAD. This is definitely one of them which we're trading in currently. So again, early Monday morning, London session, New York session, going to be keeping my eye open to see what we do here for dollar CAD. If you can see some more wicks on the 4H time frame, some bearish engulfing, I will be looking for some shorts back down into that prior low, potentially further there as well. So I'll definitely be keeping my eye on this level. Obviously, we could potentially break through as well. So I do have another level slightly higher up, coming back into this resistance here as well, looking for the exact same thing, looking for shorts on dollar CAD. Like I said, as long as we don't go and break through this high up here, the bias is still short. We're still seeing lower lows and lower highs. We're still seeing great bearish momentum as well. So all I want to see is that continuation to the downside and probably further as well. As for targets, we do have obviously the low. That's probably where I'll call it for the trade. But if you're looking to push it a little bit further, I'm also looking at this support level just underneath 1.3, which is a pretty big psychological level. So maybe the market could be attracted towards that area there too. But for me, I'll probably just call it a day coming back into these lows at around 1.31. So the psychological level just above it. So yeah, USD CAD looking at shorts, keep an eye on 1.32 and also Actually, let me be a bit more specific. 1.3217 and 1.3279. So those are the levels I'll be looking to short from, targets back down into those swing lows. Okay, so over to Euro Pound. So Euro Pound, this price action is absolutely rubbish. I'm not a fan of Euro Pound at all. I'm just treating this more or less as consolidation. We've got the high of the range there at 0.633. And we've got the low of the range down here at 0.85192. So anything in here, I'm just going to be staying out of. I can tell you now, full confidence that Euro Pound won't make the watch list for this trading week upcoming. So I won't be focusing on this pair much unless we see a big breakout and see some momentum. So last week I was describing if we can see a breakout this low, see a lot of momentum, look for some pullbacks, catch some retests, and look for some shorts to the downside. We did see a slight breakout. It was very, very weak though. We just about cleared it by a few pips. Then we saw a lot of small body candles, not a lot of momentum, a few wicks. Then the market came straight back above the level. So again, just a standard fake out, same as the one up there. And again, the one down here, capturing people on the wrong side of the market. So again, Euro Pound's in very, very poor conditions. There is a big downtrend at play here, which does look healthy. But obviously the market now is kind of in this consolidation phase. So it's either looking at reversal or continuation. If the market wants to reverse, let's break some structure to the upside and then look at the higher lows on the retest. That will be for a decent bullish trade. Same thing to the downside. If the market wants to continue, let's break through, catch a nice break and retest. Maybe coming back into the structure over here. And again, that's what I'll look for my shorts to the downside. So if we can see either one of these moves to the upside or to the downside, then I'll be very interested in Euro Pound. Because again, normally when we do get this consolidation phase, we do normally see big moves shortly after. Technically speaking, the bigger the consolidation, normally the bigger the breakout. So we could be seeing some decent moves here for Euro Pound if we can get a nice little breakout. But again, that's a big if. And if we stay within this range next week, I will not be looking to trade it myself. So that's kind of my analysis for Euro Pound. Nothing too special for this pair, but again, the price action isn't special either. So I'll be waiting for us to clear out some lows or clear out some highs. And then I'll be looking for the retest of around about 0.851 and retest of 0.86 for some trades. Okay, so now on to AUD USD. So very, very bullish this week for this pair. Again, we were stuck in that consolidation, but now it looks like we've cleared it again. So again, the price action has been all over the shop for AUD USD in the past few weeks. And now we're back above the range again, above 0.68. So what I'm looking at is another retest of this structure, if we can hold above it, of course, because last time we did clear the high, we came straight back below. So let's see if we can clear the high and stay above it, stay above the high of the range. And then that can tell me that, okay, AUD/USD is probably holding this level for potential break higher, maybe back to the resistance, maybe even higher as well. So now that we've cleared the high of the range, I think buyers are looking very good. Obviously, this is another dollar pair. Dollar is looking very, very weak. Although DXY looks like it does have some room for some retracement, I'm still pretty much bearish on DXY, looking for more downside. That is the direction of the trend. So AUD/USD does have a good chance of following that. And what that means is we could be seeing a lot more upside. So for AUD/USD, I'm looking at the market coming back to retest 0.68. And if you can get some good bounces from that, good rejection, nice momentum shift, I will be looking for some longs to the upside back into 0.69, kind of just playing the psychological levels there, 0.68 back up to 0.69. Then potentially we could even break further as well, but let's just keep it simple back to the high there. If you can get yourself a 1 to 2, 1 to 2.5, 1 to 3, that's more than enough there on a position. So AUD/USD buys do look good for this one. Obviously, you've seen a lot of bullish momentum, so naturally expecting some retracement. Looks like we're getting some of that, just before the week close. So maybe we could be coming back into this level, maybe early Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. See what type of price action we can get there. But yeah, looking for buys from 1.69 back up to, 1.68, sorry, back up to 1.69 next week. Okay, so on to NZD CAD. So NZD CAD, big move to the upside this week. We were looking for some downside coming into the week. into this resistance. This gave us a lower high, and we had some new lows past this point, so we had a nice pullback. I said coming to this level, we're looking for some shorts. As you can see, the market looks like it was forming a lower high just underneath it, but then when we did come to the level, the market broke it with ease. No real entry confirmation in there to go short anyway. Quick retest in the low time frames, and the market was looking very, very bullish. So NZD CAD, if I do zoom out into the higher time frames, we are coming to some critical areas on the longer term trend line, which is these lower highs here. As you can see, the market has been making these consistent lower highs on the daily chart. And again, trend line for me isn't necessarily what I use for direction, but it does add confluence to the trend. So if the market is respecting a trend line consistently, definitely something I do want to focus on, potentially use it as confluence to back a decision up as well. So if the market does break through the trend line, I'm not looking for buys and looking for the breakout and saying that the trend is reversed. If we do break through this high, then yes, I would, and anticipate further continuation back to the resistance there. So NZD CAD for me is coming into a very, very critical point here, because if the market does break through this, I'll be backing away from the shorts completely, because again, I'm losing confluence. But then if we continue and break through the high, then I'll be looking for buying opportunities after. So this is the critical point, which will change my buys completely. This here will just stop me looking for sales essentially. So NZD CAD coming into this area, I forgot to mention we are coming to a nice level of daily resistance as well, slightly breaking through it, but if we can poke our head back underneath it, start rejecting this level here, throw some nice wicks, we could see some nice rejection for a sell off to the downside, and again looking for at least a push back down into the support level, more or less around 0.826 or 700, 82600, 82700. So that will be the shorts. Does look like we're starting to break out here with the 4H time frame. Very, very impressive close. But again, it happened just before the weekly candle close. I'm not reading too much into it. If we do come straight back underneath, throw some nice wicks and have some nice rejection, then I was going to treat that as a simple fake out and look for my sells accordingly for push at least back down into the same support level. Again, potentially we could see a swing all the way back down to those lows. And again, if things look good, that could be another position where I maybe look to hold 10-50% to let that run. But in the meantime, looking for a sensible move back into that level is a pretty good target to have. So that's the plan for NZD CAD. Like I said, if you do break out, I'll be holding off. And if you break through the high here, then I'll be starting to look for my buy opportunities with some higher highs and higher lows. But at the moment, it looks like we might be getting a breakout, but again, it could easily be false. I want to see if we can get back underneath this level, start rejecting the trend line, and then I'll look for my shorts accordingly for push back down into 0.827 for next week. Okay, so next up we got pound NZD. So pound NZD failed at the highs this week. We had a nice bullish move to the upside. Price came back into resistance, more or less 2.09. And again, we are at some substantial levels in the market on the monthly time frame. If I draw it from the body to the wick, this is a huge zone which we've just about tapped into. As you can see, we did tap into it in June. In July, a couple of wicks there to the upside. Obviously, July still got half the month left, but we are trading in some critical resistance, which could potentially send the market down. On the 4H time, which is my main time frame of interest, the market is still bullish, very, very weakly bullish, but we are consistent with these higher highs and higher lows here, just about. So my bias is bullish, but if we do break structure, then we might be seeing a bigger move to the downside, and obviously that monthly level could be coming into play there. But right now we're coming to a nice area of confluence. We've got this trend line with the higher lows, and also the market coming back into that last prior swing low, which is going to be holding as support. So far the market is rejecting it, but again, it's interesting to see what we do on Monday, because again, we could still easily break through this. If we can see some more wicks, some more rejection, that's the wrong tool, some more wicks, some more rejection around this area, then we could be looking at a nice spring to the upside. Now, I wouldn't be trying to hold this position for too long, because like I said, number one, we're in that monthly resistance, and number two, the market is failing at the highs, which is not a good sign of bullish from bullish structure. If the market's failing at highs, failing to create new highs, and especially seeing a pretty aggressive rejection from it, it's not really saying that, okay, the market's still very, very bullish and we're likely to continue higher. We could do, because again, it's all probabilities, but the probability of this trend continuing rather than some other bullish trends is going to be a lot less, especially one that's creating new highs. So the buys do look good here for pound NZD, but if you can take your profit even sooner than the highs, that probably would be a smart move. But again, I wouldn't suggest pushing further than 2.09. if you are going to target the highs there. Pushing it further than that, you're asking for trouble. But pound NZD in terms of the bias is still bullish until we take out this area of confluence. If we break through this, then yeah, we could be looking at some sells and continuations to the downside in the other direction. But as of right now, we're still holding. Be able to pivot if we do break through, but right now we're still holding. And we'll be looking for buys from 2.05 back up to 2.08 next week. Okay, so over to CAD Yen. So CAD Yen looking very bearish. We were looking for some shorts coming into the week. Didn't quite see it. The opportunity wasn't quite there. I was looking at a retest of the consolidation here. Had a lovely breakout to the downside. I was looking for retracement, back to retest that level, then continuation to the downside, but didn't quite see the opportunity. I mean, more than didn't quite. The market just kept falling to the downside. So yeah, unless you're on the lower time frames, like maybe 30, 15-minute even, because it was very, very miniature pullbacks this week. So yeah, it'd be difficult to find any good pullbacks, any good opportunities unless you're on the lower time frames. But yeah, CAD Yen is still looking pretty bearish right now. We are coming to a big level daily support where potentially we might bounce from and see the next leg to the upside. Again, for me, CAD Yen on the higher time frames is still quite bullish. But it's a similar situation to dollar yen where I don't want to just jump straight in and look to buy the market, because again, it's like I'm trying to catch a falling knife here. The market's very, very bearish. Still seeing a lot of bearish momentum intact, and then we are coming to a nice little level. Same thing with dollar yen. I want to see some more evidence that the market's hanging on to this. Even better if we can push the upside, break some structure, see some higher highs and higher lows, and then get on a retest somewhere. Yeah, that would be a much safer entry. Again, risk reward might not be as good than entering down here, but the probability of this trade playing out versus this trade is a lot higher. Therefore, I'll probably be looking at something like this. Maybe I might go for a slightly risky opportunity if I can see some really good wicks, really good rejection at this level. I might entertain the idea if it does look very, very good. But if not, if it's in, I will wait for the break of structure and then look for the entry further up. But I am looking at another swing to the upside, same thing as dollar yen as well, and a push back to the consolidation, which we haven't come back to retest as well. So that looks like a very, very good target to have, near enough around 108,500. So looking at buys, but easily as well. We could just break to the downside, take out these lows, break to the downside, look for a retest and continue. So also do keep an eye out for the shorts there. If the momentum doesn't, if price doesn't hold that level, if momentum just breaks straight through, then yeah, a retest of that structure does look good. And again, you want to drop to lower time frames because you might not see such a big pullback for CAD Yen. But for me, I'll be looking at the reversal here. Let's see if we can get that price action breaking to the upside, some higher highs and higher lows. Now entertain the idea back up to 108,678 up there. Okay, so over to pound USD, looking very, very bullish this week. We smashed into the target for the week. I was looking for 1.3, which was coming back into this daily support here, which we broke through, never got the retest when we had the breakout. So we knew this area price could be attracted towards. Also was coming to a big psychological level of 1.3 as well. So we knew there's a good chance price could get there, and obviously price got to that level and smashed straight through it. So we're looking quite bullish. I'm expecting to see some retracement soon come for pound USD. I mean, we are kind of starting to get it, but I expect it to be a little bit deeper. The market is quite overextended, but again, when I say the market is overextended and we're likely to see retracement, I'm never going to be looking to short it and anticipate that retracement myself and bet money on it. I'm just looking for the retracement to buy it back up again. You know, it's completely two different scenarios, which I'm discussing here. So yeah, pound USD as potentially where we could head to next. I'm looking at this monthly support here, which is back around 1.32. We could see a little bit more upside into this support level here and then potentially see some downside from that. So there might be some good short opportunities in near enough around 1.32. But again, I definitely will be waiting for some break of structures, some lower lows and lower highs to be present first before I execute on any trade. So, you know, something like that for pound USD could be looking good from this 1.32 level. But we need to see that break of structure first, or at least I need to see it first before I look for any selling opportunities. As for buys, this is the only level I can look to buy that fits my plan, which is 1.285, which we broke through pretty early in the week and haven't looked back since. So I'm not too sure if we'll get all the way down there next week. I mean, dollar yen surprised me, so I'm not going to rule it out. but maybe pound USD can surprise me as well. But for buying opportunities, this is looking like a very good level to buy it from as well. So my kind of thesis, my plan coming into next week is still bullish on pound USD, looking for a push back to 1.32. This is the only level that fits my plan to actually buy from. So I'm looking at a retracement back into that level. I think we'll come into the 0.618 or near enough, 0.5, 0.618 in between those two levels. So we've got some good confluence around this area. But again, we might not see that retracement. And if we do get to 1.32 first and we start seeing some nice bearish structure, that can possibly get into some nice counter trend plays as well once I see some lower lows and lower highs. So that's the plan going into next week for pound USD. Okay, so over to pound CAD. Pound CAD very bullish this week. We were looking for a lot more upside. We came back into the highs here and broke through them. This was the target for the week. We were looking for a break and retest of this high here. This was on the watch list. I was looking to long pound CAD from this level, but unfortunately I got into pound USD at the exact same time, and I don't want to trade very similar currency pairs at the same time. Pound USD, pound CAD, very similar. They both give me the same entry signal at the exact same time, so I just choose the one I liked, which was pound USD. I like them both, to be fair, but pound USD was looking a little bit better, had better risk reward as well. So I took that trade, and a lot of people will be saying, why didn't you take pound CAD as well? But if I take both those pairs, both those trades, either both going to work or both going to fail because they're very, very similar. Obviously, in hindsight, they both work, so it would have been nice to take both positions, but in another parallel universe, they probably both failed. So it is what it is. But yeah, pound CAD, really nice move to the upside. So again, the analysis is pretty similar for pound CAD and pound USD. We're looking at some corrections and some continuations. Pound CAD is coming into a big level on the weekly level resistance, which is this high over here, which gave us this humongous drop to the downside. We're coming back into that same resistance. So we might be seeing some corrections, some retracement, some bear stepping into the market, maybe some profit taking as well. So I'm expecting to see some retracement alongside with pound USD as well, but it doesn't change anything in terms of my bias, which is still very, very bullish. So I'm still looking at upside. These are still levels that look good to buy from at 1.71. 400. This is where I'm looking for some entries to go long. Same thing as well, the level just below it, which again I would have longed from this week, sorry. Also, that's a good level to buy from. So looking at some retracement into one of these two levels back into 1.73, then potentially you could see some more upside. But again, not be trying to be too greedy with targets, because again, we're coming to that weekly zone there. If you do retrace from that, that will naturally be the target, sending it right back into that same level. So that is the plan for next week for pound CAD. Okay, so for pound yen, coming into the week, was looking for some counter trend plays, which we did kind of see. We were looking for a push into 180, which is this level of support. And we were looking for a break and retest of this level here, because we had some nice consolidation. We said if you can break out the consolidation, get a retest, we can probably see some nice counter trend plays to the downside. For pound yen, as you can see, we just about missed it by a couple of pips. Again, the market's not perfect. But would have been nice to see a retest of that, catch next lower high, roll into 180. And since then, the market's had a pretty strong reaction. So I'm still pretty bullish on the pair. Higher time frames are still pretty bullish. And I'm looking at potentially this being the next higher low for pound yen. We crashed to the downside a little bit, pinched the lows here, grab liquidity. This could be the next move to the upside for pound yen, back into the highs there. So that's kind of the plan going into next week, looking at push back into 184. Again, nothing more crazier than that, because pound yen for me is still in the middle of nowhere. There's no kind of particular higher time frame level I'm working my way towards. 140, 184, sorry. It's kind of the target, and then we'll see what happens next. So pound yen, as long as we can hold this support level 180, I'm expecting some more upside. So if we can come back, retest it, maybe double bottom out, that could give us an opportunity for some nice entries. Looking for a push to the upside, expecting that higher time for momentum to come back in and keep pushing pound yen along. And again, looking for a push back into the prior high. So that is the plan next week for pound yen. This could actually turn into a bigger range as well if the market starts failing at the highs, which again, if you're looking to trade the range, buy low, sell high. But at the moment, I'm still expecting that higher time frame trend to give us that shove, break us through the highs and keep going. So that's the plan next week for pound yen. Okay, so over to gold. So coming into the week, my bias was a little bit neutral for gold because we had some good confluence and some good opportunities for some buys and sells. I said if we can hold on to this area, we're looking at some downside. As we can see, the market had this trend line, some lower lows, some lower highs, but then we did break through it. And I also said if we break through, we're looking at a buys and the break and retest for some more upside. If I pull it to the daily time frame, you can see we have this bigger bullish structure at play with these higher highs and higher lows, and possibly looking at another push to the upside. So I could see gold going both ways, and obviously the market has cleared things up for us with a nice break to the upside. So what I'm looking going into next week is another higher low. We've got one over there, which is the swing low. Then we had another higher low relative to that low, another higher low relative to the previous low, and again we're looking at another one, and we've got a lovely structure here of prior resistance in the 4H around 1935, looking to see if we come back, retest this structure, and then look for the next swing to the upside. So my bias for gold is definitely 100% bullish, and obviously this does create some really good high probability trades. Reason being because we're now in line with the higher time frame structure, which was this big push, correction, big push, correction, big push. So not only do we have that higher time frame structure as well, we've also now got 4H as well. So we're building up some nice confluence, some nice synchronicity between the time frames, which is always positive for your trades. So what I'm looking at as a correction, you can see the market's having a hard time breaking through some resistance on the left here around 1965. So I'm hoping that that can potentially send the market down. We'll look for some entries, try and catch that next higher low. We've got a nice trend line, adding some bit of confluence to the setup, and also I think we're coming into the 0.618 of the fib as well. Nope, 50% of the fib. Nonetheless, great opportunity with some great confluence. So that is my area of interest. Target wise, potentially we could see a move all the way up to the highs there for a nice 14 risk to reward. Are we going to go for that? Probably not. Potentially, I mean, this is one of those trades where, if things do look good, it might be a trade where I do leave like 10-15% of my position remaining for pushback to the highs. I haven't really done that too much this year. I think I did it with one position on Euro Yen, but I only do it when we have really good confluence and the higher time frames really fit the picture of what I'm doing on the 4H. And this is definitely one of them for gold. DXY looking very bearish. That looks like it's got more room to the downside. Even though I do expect some retracement, I do expect it to eventually continue in its bearish path. So that again adds more fuel to gold going higher. We've got the higher time frames looking good for gold. Fundamentally, gold can see some upside as well. And from a 4H perspective, which is my bread and butter, the time frame I'm looking to trade on, look at my setups, is obviously starting to look pretty bullish as well. So hanging on, leaving 10-15% to run, maybe back to 2060 is not necessarily a bad idea, but obviously I have to get the trade first. So this is what I'll be looking for. Natural targets though, we'll probably just be looking at push back into the high there. If you can get a 1 to 3 back to resistance, that's fantastic, and you can call it a day there. But if you get a lot of momentum and things look good, then I might leave some small positions to trickle. And again, 10-15% is not a lot, but if that can add up over that 14R, maybe 10R pip range, that can add up to maybe 1 or 2 or maybe 3 extra R. Maybe not 3, but maybe 1 or 2 extra R, which is always nice. So that's the plan next week for gold. Okay, so over to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin may have sold some dreams on Thursday, Friday. Big push to the upside there, clearing out the highs. It looked like the market was about to break out. We had obviously XRP do some crazy moves as well. Crypto was overall on an up. But Bitcoin came down just as hard as it went up. And again, we're still stuck in that range. So again, try not to get sucked into hype and just focus on the technicals of the market. We're at a range. If this was like any other Forex pair, any FX pair, still there'll people to be caught out in the higher the range, of course, and looking for breakouts. But you always want to be waiting for the market to clear ranges, retest, and then look for your entries on the retest. Again, that's how I trade. Some people like the breakouts, and obviously they have the reasons for that as well. But for me, retest is obviously the thing I want to go for, and obviously the retest would have kept you out of a trade here. But again, the analysis coming into the week was, again, Bitcoin still ranging at a critical resistance, weekly resistance as well, 31K, big old level here. Let me draw a bit more accurately. There we go. So you can see we're trading at a very, very big level here, which could potentially sell off or potentially break out. And if we do break out, we're looking at 34, 35K next into this level of support here, which again, lovely support, broke through, no retest. So, the market's got a good possibility of coming back and retesting this support there too. So we do have our next kind of mark, which we expect Bitcoin to get to, if obviously we can break the range and break out the resistance, but we still haven't done that yet. So the analysis for Bitcoin still remains the same going into next week, still looking at a breakout to the upside or to the downside for some opportunities. Anything in this area is just noise for me. Sure, maybe in the low time frames, people taking advantage of some opportunities and do what they need to do. But again, crypto, I'm trying to focus more on a higher time frame perspective, more daily time frame. So I'm looking at bigger moves here. So if we can see a breakout, I can see some nice opportunities, but the breakout is a necessity. So wait for clearance of either 31,481. And what I mean by clearance, I mean price to break through and start retesting. We just had a sharp break and a sharp push back in. So wait for some more clear signs that we're breaking through. Even the daily close would be of some good significance. As you can see, the daily close didn't quite make it. If we did see a confident daily close above, that would give you a bit more confidence for the breakout as well. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at for Bitcoin. Potentially sells back down to where we came from. But if we do see a breakout north, we're looking at 35K next. Okay, so onto our bonus pair, which for this week is Euro AUD. So I'm really liking this pair. It's looking like a very, very good pair for some long opportunities next week. This is very, very similar to my pound CAD idea from last week's analysis coming to this week, which was the big inverse head and shoulder on the daily time frame. So if I quickly flick back to pound CAD, which I never normally do during weekly analysis, but as you can see, we have this big daily inverse head and shoulder. We're looking for price to break through, retest, and continuing. That's what we got on the 4H time frame. If we go to Euro AUD, very, very similar price action, big old bullish trend on the higher time frames, now giving us an inverse head and shoulder. So if we can break through the resistance here, which is basically the neckline, we're looking at the same thing as pound CAD, retest, continuation. And we got the highs there as our target, which again, very, very same thing as pound CAD. But the only thing with pound CAD is when I was doing the analysis, we already had the breakout. We already had a nice candle closure above. So we know we're just looking for the retest. With Euro AUD, we haven't got the breakout yet. So this pattern can still fail. The market can still hold resistance and potentially drop to the downside and melt. So we definitely need to see a break of 1.651. And then I'll be looking for my retest and continuations to the upside. So next week, looking at nice little break, retest, higher low, and then looking at my entries to go long. We've got a nice little range to work with, back to 1.675. How many pips we're working with? 200 plus there. So again, if you get yourself 30, 40, even 50 pips stop loss, you're looking at a very decent risk reward there. So the plan for next week is wait for a break and retest, and then look for some entries. If we don't do that, then I'm not interested in Euro AUD, any of this price action. I do like it because, again, the higher time frames and 4H are coming in sync. If we do get the breakout, higher time frames are bullish. Now 4H is looking bullish as well, breaking through the highs. So the buys do look good. But of course, we need to wait for the break first. But if we do get the breakout, looking for entries on a retest of 1.65, back up to 1.675 next week. And that brings us to the end of the weekly analysis, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming onto the channel and watching the video. If you have found it useful, informative, please be sure to drop a like on the video. Subscribe if you haven't done already. If you find the content useful, show some love, subscribe to the channel. It does really help out. Like I said, check out my Telegram, links in the description to that. I do post my watches for the week, so I will do that tomorrow, so make sure you're in the Telegram for that. But guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Hope you have a great weekend, and I'll catch you all next week. Okay, so on to NZD CAD. So NZD CAD, big move to the upside this week. We were looking for some downside coming into the week, into this resistance. This gave us a lower high, and we had some new lows past this point, so we had a nice pullback. I said coming to this level, we're looking for some shorts. As you can see, the market looks like it was forming a lower high just underneath it, but then when we did come to the level, the market broke it with ease. No real entry confirmation in there to go short anyway. quick retest in the low time frames, and the market was looking very, very bullish. So NZD CAD, if I do zoom out into the higher time frames, we are coming to some critical areas on the longer term trend line, which is these lower highs here. As you can see, the market has been making these consistent lower highs on the daily chart. And again, trend line for me isn't necessarily what I use for direction, but it does add confluence to the trend. So if the market is respecting a trend line consistently, definitely something I do want to focus on, potentially use it as confluence to back a decision up as well. So if the market does break through the trend line, I'm not looking for buys and looking for the breakout and saying that the trend is reversed. If we do break through this high, then yes, I would, and anticipate further continuation back to the resistance there. So NZD CAD for me is coming into a very, very critical point here, because if the market does break through this, I'll be backing away from the shorts completely, because again, I'm losing confluence. But then if we continue and break through the high, then I'll be looking for buying opportunities after. So this is the critical point, which will change my buys completely. This here will just stop me looking for sales essentially. So NZD CAD coming into this area, I forgot to mention we are coming to a nice level of daily resistance as well, slightly breaking through it, but if we can poke our head back underneath it, start rejecting this level here, throw some nice wicks, we could see some nice rejection for a sell off to the downside, and again looking for at least a push back down into the support level, more or less around 0.826 or 700, 82600, 82700. So that will be the shorts. Does look like we're starting to break out here with the 4H time frame. Very, very impressive close. But again, it happened just before the weekly candle close. I'm not reading too much into it. If we do come straight back underneath, throw some nice wicks and have some nice rejection, then I'm just going to treat that as a simple fake out and look for my sells accordingly for push at least back down into the same support level. Again, potentially we could see a swing all the way back down to those lows. And again, if things look good, that could be another position where I maybe look to hold 10-50% to let that run. But in the meantime, looking for a sensible move back into that level is a pretty good target to have. So that's the plan for NZD CAD. Like I said, if you do break out, I'll be holding off. And if you break through the high here, then I'll be starting to look for my buy opportunities with some higher highs and higher lows. But at the moment, it looks like we might be getting a breakout, but again, it could easily be false. I want to see if we can get back underneath this level, start rejecting the trend line, and then I'll look for my shorts accordingly for push back down into 0.827 for next week.